I think we can be a blessing to you. You know, the book of Proverbs of Velma teaches us common sense. And with common sense, it gives us good judgment. But I learned something, Jonathan, in life. I can have common sense and I can have good judgment. But I don't always use my good judgment. I know what is right to do, but I don't always do what's right. I want to, but I've found in life that, it's kind of like, I like to tease Velma. She always said, "Oh, Paul King, you put your pants on one leg at a time like everybody else." Nobody is perfect. No, if you ever put anybody up here like this on a pedestal, they're going to fall off and you're going to get hurt too. Everybody, the Lord made us, we just all have different jobs to do. We all have different responsibilities. And Solomon teaches us to have common sense and good judgment. And I say it doesn't always mean that you'll do the right thing. You should. And you may know what's right. But isn't it amazing how the flesh is weak, even though we know to do the right thing? And that's what Solomon's teaching us here in these verses. You'll like some of these things that we learned tonight. Proverbs 12. And I'll read down through verse 14. And I want to be a blessing to you. Proverbs 12. Whoso loveth instruction, loveth knowledge. But he that hateth reproof is brutish. A good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous shall not be moved. A righteous man is solid. A righteous man builds his house on a solid rock. Righteous man puts down roots, and he's solid. Doesn't mean he doesn't get hurt and there's damage done, but because he's built on a solid rock, because he's got good roots, he can regrow, he can rebuild. And a good man, David Williams, a good man can get knocked down and the Lord will pick him back up. But a wicked man will get knocked down and he may never get back upon his feet. Verse 4. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness to his bones. The thoughts of the upright are right, but the counsels of the wicked, they're deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood. That is, they want to cause you damage. They want to hurt you. The wicked people, evil people, and there are wicked people, there are evil people, and they lie in wait, he says, for blood. They hope to be able to do damage. But the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not. That is, they go away. But the house of the righteous shall stand. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is perverse of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hideth and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. It's the guy who, brags about being such a great, whatever it is he is in life, but he doesn't have any success about it. It's kind of like, I brag about how great a businessman I am, but I'm always broke. That don't make sense, does it? That's what Solomon is saying. Here's somebody who's bragging about how great they are, and they don't have any success. But here's a man who he says has a little. He says better it's better for somebody not to like you, but still have bread to feed yourself.
Is his name Kim Wall?
Thank you, Leroy. Verse 10. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast. That is, a good man takes care of his animals. A good man, if he has a pet, takes care of it. A good man, if he has chickens, he takes care of them. A good man, if he has any kind of a pet or animal, or if he's got a farm, he takes care of his animals. But, on the other hand, the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth of the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips. That is, lies beget more lies. And I learned through the years, and Solomon taught, liars seem to like other liars. It's kind of weird that way, isn't it? The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just, those of you who are trying to live right, not that you don't have trouble, he says, eventually you come out of that trouble. Verse 14, and I'll stop my reading. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. Nothing wrong with working for a living, is there? Nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a good thing. Here are a few thoughts. Verse 1. In order to learn, Christy K., in order to learn, you must first have a willingness to learn. You've got to have that. It's like the old saying, a little boy can lead a great big horse to water, but 10 strong men can't make it and drink. Some people have to experience the school of hard knocks to learn anything, and sometimes they still don't learn. Some people are graduates of the school of hard knocks. They get a degree from the school of hard knocks. They got a degree hanging on the wall, and they still don't learn. Solomon said, some people just curse their luck. It's just luck. You know, as Christian people, we really don't believe in luck. You know that, don't you? We believe God is in control of all things. He works it all out for our good. So the evil, wicked man, he curses his luck. But the righteous man, the good man, what does he do? He counts his blessings. He takes time to count his blessings. The wicked man curses his luck. Some folks will say, well, I have learned my lesson. And I said, maybe, perhaps they did. But for some reason, they still continue to experience the same results in life. Why? Because they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Names change, geographical locations change, but they keep making the same mistakes over and over. Some people, I said, some people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan, and that's the way it goes. A couple of years ago, y'all of course remember Brother Doug. Y'all remember Brother Doug. Brother Doug and I went visiting a lot together. We went to hospitals, nursing homes. We went to homes, people who visited the church and so forth. One day we were out visiting. We stopped right up the road here at a truck place because my old blue truck is just about wore out. And I said, I need to trade that old thing in, and I'd be embarrassed to sell it to anybody. That's how bad it is. But I stopped to look at a truck. And I looked at this Dodge Spider. It's called a Dodge Spider. Beautiful truck. And I asked the salesman, I said, what are you asking for that Dodge Spider? He said, well, we're getting $120,000 for it. I wanted a new truck. And I'm like you, I kind of laughed. I said, really? I didn't want to buy a house? But he said, oh, we got them standing in line. I said, oh, okay. So then I saw a used truck, a Ford Raptor. It was 1 year old. And I said, what are you getting on that used truck, that Ford Raptor? I said, oh, we're letting that go for $100,000. $100,000 for a used truck. But anyway, I decided I didn't need a new truck, is what I decided. Bad financial decisions can get you in a lot of trouble. Bad relationships. Do you know, as Christian people, we are warned about the world and non-believers. He says for us to be careful about being yoked together in relationships, business, marriage, even dating or stuff like that. Be careful about being yoked together with a non-believer. We are warned about that. In life, you have people who, Solomon teaches us that there are people in your life who are very needy. I'll say it like that, very needy. And they only show up once in a blue moon, and that's when they're in need. That's when they're in need. I got a guy who calls me about every 3 or 4 years here at the church. Got a guy who calls me about every 3 or 4 years. And he'll call me and he'll act like we're just old bosom buddies. And he'll get to talking and he'll talk, talk about how great of friends we are. And eventually gets around to why he called. And everybody needs a little help every now and then. Don't ever think we all have needed help along the way, haven't we? But anyway, this particular guy, you remember when I had my surgery about 6 or 8 months ago, my hernia surgery? Well, he called me about the day I went into the surgery, and of course I was in the hospital for 5 or 6 days. And then I was at home for another 3 or 4 or 5 days. And by the time I got up here, he had called 3 or 4 times, and about the second or third time he called, he just went off about how I can't believe that Paul King, the guy I consider my pastor, would not return my call. And I've been in the hospital, and he's telling me this stuff, And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. He only cared about himself. He had no concern about anyone but himself. But the deal is, he tried to make me feel guilty. And sometimes, you just got to be able to handle that. I'll say it like that. Sometimes people need help. And sometimes you give advice. And you give good advice. But Solomon seems to think there are some people who've got to be beat over the head. But they still never really learn. And I've learned this in life through the years. Sometimes there are those who go through the school of hard knocks and they learn a lesson about life. And they really do learn. But for some reason, they don't have the strength of character to carry it through. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. And sometimes you will have tough times in life. That's just life. You got to learn to say no to yourself. Solomon says in these verses, to refuse correction is not very smart. In fact, it's very foolish to refuse correction. It shows that you are rebellious. And then he said, when smart people stay quiet, then dumb people take control. That means that sometimes you, as a good person, a Christian person with common sense and good judgment, sometimes you have to speak up. You have to speak up for what's right. And I'll tell you this much, it takes courage to speak up, to tell folks what's right whenever you're in the minority or any time really. You got to speak up and let folks know what's right. And sometimes, golly, I'm speaking to parents and grandparents here. Sometimes we've got to tell our kids what's right, and it doesn't seem to go over very well. Some people never learn from their mistakes. As long as we continue to blame others, and in that others, I included parents, grandparents, teachers, and preachers, and some friends, if we have them, as long as we continue to blame others, we will never learn to be successful. And we will never be able to overcome our mistakes. Solomon said sometimes people say things to us that kind of hurt us, right? Sometimes people say things along the way. But he had something I thought that I've tried to apply this over the years. He said, when someone says something that is about you, that in a way either that is they're trying to hurt you, or sometimes people just speak blatant lies. They'll say things. He says, just look at it as a little sparrow flying through the sky. I got a little sparrow that lands behind me. When you all come over next month, you'll see. I got a little bitty, I don't know if it's a finch or a sparrow. It's about that big. And I got a birdhouse. And I sit there like this, and I can see him fly up and goes in that deal. He said, when people say things about you that aren't true, or they're saying them in a way that they're trying to do you harm, he said, it's like that little sparrow. Pay no attention to it. Oh, that's a little bitty sparrow. Don't pay any attention to what they're saying. If it's untrue or they're trying to hurt you, he said, pay as much attention to that as you did that little sparrow that just landed behind you. You are an overcomer. I'm just going to give you verse 2, and I'll not keep us too long. Solomon said, the Lord blesses good men. You got a good dad. You can pay me later. Solomon said, the Lord blesses good men. Solomon said, the Lord blesses good men. He also blesses good ladies. We know that. But that's what he's talking about here. He shows favor to them. He blesses them. Happy is the man or woman who puts their trust in the Lord. Happy is the man. He uses the word blessed, but blessed means to be happy. Blessed is the man or woman who puts their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. He said that the favor of God is better than hard work. The favor of God is better than hard work. Now, we should work hard whenever possible. And if we're able, we should work. The blessing of the Lord makes you rich. The blessing of the Lord makes you rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. This is a philosophy that all of us learned. I know I learned it. I don't say all of us have learned it. We should work hard, especially when we are young. Solomon says, bear the yoke in your youth. He's likening like a yoke of oxen plowing a field. Bear the yoke when you're young. And the modern day philosophy is this: make hay while the sun shines. Make hay while you're able to do it, work. Because there'll come a time when you're not able to. And I said this, I'm giving you Brother Paul's little insight here. I'm giving you Brother Paul's insight here. Jonathan's looking for a good job. Jonathan, work hard while you can. But as you grow older, work smarter, not harder. Okay? Boy, have I ever learned that one. It's amazing how you can't do the things you used to do when you're 25, isn't it? Oh, work smarter as you get older, or not harder. And I said, Brother Paul learned that from experience. Then he gives us a thought in the latter part of verse 2. He says that there are some people, the wicked people, they're too stubborn. They're stuck in their ways. They refuse to learn. Here's one that we all have to be careful about. Solomon said that there are those people in life who think they already know it all. They already know it all. And I like to jokingly say, especially if they're a teenager, they think they know it all. Mom and Dad know very little, and Grandma and Grandpa know even less. However, we have learned, along with Solomon, who said that a wise person never ceases to learn. And a wise teacher or a wise preacher will make learning a joy, not a drudgery. If you enjoy learning, you'll learn. And then he reminds us of this on the last part of verse 2. He said, evil people, you know, sometimes when we see evil people seemingly getting ahead or getting away with stuff, it kind of gets under your skin, doesn't it? You know, things going a certain way, and you know this person is a certain way, and they seem to be having some success in life. Solomon said, eventually, evil people will get what they deserve. Leave it in the hands of God. Don't you try to do it. Give it to God. In fact, you know, we're supposed to pray for those people. And let God take care of that situation. Let me give you verse 3 and then I'll stop. No, I'm going to go down to verse 4. I got to do verse 4 before I let you go, because Mother's Day's coming. Mother's Day's coming. So y'all need to hear it. And I need to hear it too. Verse 3, wickedness and evil never bring lasting success. It may bring a momentary success, like the guy who robbed the bank. He's got a pocket full of money for a little while. Or maybe the guy that robbed a 7-Eleven. Momentary success. But eventually, that success or whatever, it goes away. It never brings lasting success. Their success, if they have any, is soon forgotten. And then they curse their luck. They curse their luck. Let me tell you a story, true story. I'm going to tell you a true story. I'm not going to tell you a preacher story. I'm going to tell you a true story. I knew this guy who went to prison more than once. And on a couple of occasions, he was caught stealing drugs. He broke into a pharmacy. He was caught and went to prison. Got out of prison about 2 years later. About a year after that, he was caught breaking into a pharmacy, stealing drugs. Went to prison. Well, when I talked to that individual, they didn't go to prison because they broke into a pharmacy. They didn't go to prison because they got caught stealing drugs. They went to prison because their lookout didn't tell them that anyone was coming. He blamed the lookout for not telling them the police were coming in the building. Instead of accepting their responsibility for being a thief, stealing drugs, and trying to do something about it, they blamed the lookout. The lookout didn't tell me. If that lookout had told me, I'd have got out of there. Both times, same story. The wicked curse their luck, but the righteous man counts his blessings. Solomon said, only the good man will have a lasting success. And lasting success comes to those who will follow God and the common sense and good judgment that you gain from the Word of God. And oh, my friend, you're a lot smarter than you think you are. If you know the Word of God and you're learning the things of God, you're miles ahead of the average person out there who doesn't hear, doesn't read, doesn't know the Word of God. You're miles ahead of them. The Word of God brings you success. Hard work also brings success. I want my buddy who watches this on YouTube to hear this. Steady Eddie, his name is Eddie. Steady Eddie will get the job done. Is that right? Steady Eddie. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Steady Eddie gets the job done. We are instructed to listen to wise counsel. Now, verse 4, and I'm going to stop on verse 4. I just want to get to verse 4 because it's special for you ladies. So, Solomon teaches. Ladies, now, let me first say this. Solomon had 700 wives. 700 wives and 300 concubines. So this is coming from a man who knows something about women. Jojo, this is coming from somebody who knows something about women. 700. I don't know what it was all about.
I bet you had a headache.
But this advice comes from a man who had 700 wives. And here's what he says. Jonathan, this is what he says. Okay, Jonathan, are you single?
Yeah.
Jonathan, listen to me.
Yeah.
Listen to me, Jonathan.
Okay.
Lee, listen to me. Y'all listen to me. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Solomon says, a good woman will make a worthy wife.
What?
A good wife. She will bring him happiness. A good woman, Lee.
They don't make them anymore.
Ron got the last one, or David got one here. Everybody got the last one.
They don't make them like they used to.
And they heard that on YouTube. But he says, a good woman will make a worthy wife, and a worthy wife will bring to her husband and to her family. She will bring happiness and joy. She will be a crown to her husband. She'll be a blessing to her children. Even in her neighborhood, she'll be a blessing. And then he gives an example of the other kind. I don't even like to talk about it, but I will because he did. The other kind of wife will destroy her husband and destroy her home. She will take away his will to work. She puts him down in everything he tries to do. She will be a constant complainer and never satisfied. Marianne, listen to me. Marianne, listen to me. She'll be a constant complainer. She's never satisfied. Now listen, that's the part I want you to listen to. She'll never be satisfied even if she's married to Cary Grant. Most people don't know who that is anymore. Oh, anyway, Cary Grant went through 5 wives. But he was in love. The other kind, he says, will never be satisfied or ever be contented. This kind of wife, and I'll stop with this last thought. This kind of wife that he's talking about, the latter one, will ruin her own family and destroy her own marriage. How sad that is. I'll start again next week on verse 5, chapter 12, verse 5. Okay? All right, God bless you. Let's go over the request first and pray.